Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of the Weekly Shonen Breakdown for the week of July 9th, 2018. I am Trey. This is the full spectrum. Let's get started. We start off this week with 7069, The Day the Sun Was Lost. We get to see you and Asura hanging out and just getting, to talk for a little bit. They don't get to do that very often. And we get to see you offering to let himself be ripped to shreds for Asura memories. Asura, of course, turns him down and says, well, if you get ripped to shreds by the angel that's in you, then, what's going to happen to me? But we do get to see that, as Asura is recovering these memories, you promises to look at the sky more for him. Asura remembers that, he had a sister, but that he regrets something about, his sister, and that he's not sure what's going on there. But, of course, we know that is cruel tepish, but still, This is pretty cool to see Asura trying to remember these things and him and Yu's bond getting better as they do. I just closed that door. The sequence of all of them on the roof of the car as they just all gather up there, all the younger kids, just hanging out is really good. Getting to see Michaela being like, I don't have any more friends than you, and like everybody else just proving him wrong. It was really nice. We also get the vampires bringing up the thirst again, which we haven't heard about in a while, and talking about how, Michaela must have an iron will to be able to hold back from devouring all of them, because of how close he is to all the humans. And we get a reminder that Farid is not a good guy, as Farid Bathory drains the family that you was watching earlier, playing outside. Oh boy. Good old Farid Bathory. We also finally get to see what happened to Cruel and Ashura as children. And it's the age-old story of peasants overthrowing their lords because their taxes were too heavy. Even though it honestly seems like the people that they were in charge of, the nobles themselves, were not terrible people. And their life was probably worse off without those nobles around. But it's the cliche thing of the nobles gotta die, so it happened. And we see that everything ties together as millennia ago, you met Ashura. I was really, really enjoying this chapter up until that end moment where we get to see you in the ancient past. And I immediately was like, oh boy. Like, we already knew you was special because he's human and angel and demon. Because of Asura and because of the angel. But man, I didn't need him to also be millennia old as well. And like the reincarnation of whatever he is. Or maybe he's not a reincarnation at all. Maybe he's been around all this time. All I'm saying is I remember when this was a story about people and vampires and living in a society where vampires had the run of things and humans were fighting to survive. And now we're getting into like ancient time and it affecting the present and the first vampire, and you is something. I don't know, it was really, really, loving this chapter, and then it curveballed at the end, and I was like, man. I'm one of those people that really hates the destiny aspect, and like that you was destined to wind up with Ashura as his weapon, because they had met in the past, is what this seems like it's hinting at. Whereas just the idea of, like, well, that's the one he got, is a lot more interesting to me. Like, the idea that the story could have been different and you could have got a completely different demon and a completely different weapon. But it seems like now that's never going to have even been an option because they were destined to have met again. And that just really bothers me. So I'm going to give this one a dead even for me. I thought at the start of this chapter was really, really, really good. And it was definitely going to be 2 thumbs up. But the end of this chapter just immediately tanked it for me. So, we'll see how it goes in the coming chapters. After that, we have One Piece 910, Onward to Wano. We get to see Luffy and the others, as Chopper gets to see Dr. Reen again in the paper. And something about him seeing her and then happily cutting her picture out of the paper so he can hold it and just grin. It broke me. It really got me. I was really affected by that. And then, they cut out the pictures of all the people that they know. And Sanji cuts out all the pictures of the princesses. And Luffy promises that after the journey's over, they should go visit them all again. And Luffy's smile is super wide in that panel. And it kind of makes me worry that Luffy's going to die at the end of the series. Like, I'm probably definitely reading too much into that smile, but it makes me worry that Luffy's going to die. But it also makes me happy knowing that Luffy is thinking of after they find the One Piece as well. Because there's been many points in the story where someone has been like, what are you going to do if you find the One Piece? And Luffy's like, I'll think about it when I get there. Or, we're going to find the One Piece. But Luffy here is just like, we're going to travel the world, and after we're done traveling the world, we should go see them all again. It's like, yeah, Luffy, that'd be really cool. And that's what Brook wants to do anyway, because he wants to see Laboon again. But, we also get to see that octopus sneak. Like, you see his tentacle come in on one panel, and then the next panel, he's just, like, standing there. I don't know what his deal is. Like, maybe he's somebody that Kinemon knows, and Kinemon sent him to go wait for the Straw Hats. But this all leads into, like, seeing Koi in the water, and Sanji's freaking out, because Sanji's just like, Koi are freshwater fish, this is the ocean, what's going on? Like, I'm sure in his mind he's going, have we gotten close to all blue? But no, this is just a waterfall that's at the end of a river that goes up at the end as the river flows to the waterfall and then flows up, to Wano. And so Luffy, of course, stretches and grabs two koi of these giant monster koi, and it pulls the Sunny up the waterfall, which is really cool. I also think the idea of just a waterfall at the end of a river going up is really cool. And then Luffy wakes up alone, and a giant dog is fighting a baboon with a katana. And so I know a lot of people were not happy with the way this chapter ended, because the crew is already really split up. We didn't really need them to get split up again, and they haven't even got to meet up again before they're all splitting up. I don't mind this so much, because I feel like it's going to lead into everybody meeting up again, just in different orders. Sorry, a spider just crawled over the edge of my desk, and it super scared me. We'll be right back. Whew, sorry about that. That spider was very large. So, I think this will lead to some interesting situations where, like, maybe Sanji runs into Zoro first, and Nami runs into Usopp first, or like any of those kind of situations. But I am a little annoyed as well that the crew is already split up again. All told, though, I think this chapter is definitely a thumbs up for me. I thought it was a really solid chapter. Really liked getting to see everybody's reactions to seeing Dr. Reen and Dalton and Vivi, and that was really cool. After that, we have the Promised Neverland 94, All of Us Alive. We see Luvis' end again. And as the last bullet hits him, he remembers his monkey, and Bayan, and the old hunts, and meeting with humans, and Sonju, and Mujika? Are they actually super important to the Demon's plot? Because, like, when we first met them, I was like, man, these people might be important. Like, there's some weird stuff going on with them, and with, like, the amulet and everything. But is Mujika, like, a princess, or a priestess, or something like that? And is Sonju her guard? Regardless, there's not much that we know, honestly. And this doesn't tell us a lot, but it does tell us that they were important because someone as important as Luvis remembers them. And not just, like, remembers them in a group of other demons, but specifically Sonju with Mujika behind him and then just Mujika. It's like, but Luvis unfortunately does die. Fortunately, unfortunately, your prerogative. Then we can see that Adam is okay. As Emma tries to move forward to get to Pepe, she falls, however. Back with Luvis, we see that Oliver wakes up. Perfect timing, buddy. As Nigel runs in to tell them Luvis is dead. Everybody's stunned, but, they cheer. Because, they did it. Immediately after this, because, this is how timing works, Lucas asks where everybody else is, as that man runs in with Emma on his back. And we get to see this awesome moment where he freezes when he sees Lucas. And then they embrace. It's an awkward embrace because all they can really do is just put their heads forward on each other's shoulders because that man has Emma on his back and Lucas is missing an arm. But it still means something to both of them that they made it through this together. Then it's back to business. They're told, hey, we got to get out of here. The mansion has more demons in it and we don't know how many and we can't trust when they're going to come out here, so we got to go. But they also find out they're out of medical supplies. And Emma will die if she does not get treatment, and Ray will not let that happen. The shelter has supplies, of course, but the direct route to the shelter, which would only take about a day and a half, is far too dangerous for everybody here, especially with the wounded. So Oliver tells Lucas to leave them all behind. Some of these characters that we've met I like. Some of them, have not really meant much to me. But some of them have really grown on me. Like, Nigel has come through a lot here. And Oliver took a stab from Bayan to protect Lucas. I don't want these people to die. But I think they're probably gonna. And all this immediately had me ask the question, oh yeah, what about everybody at the shelter? Are they okay? Like, is that man and Lucas and Ray and Nigel going to get Emma back to the shelter only to find out that the shelter's been ransacked? I guess there's only one way to find out, but this was a really, really solid chapter. I thought there were some really good moments. Sanju and Mujika, Lucas showing up with that man and them finally getting to meet again. And then, of course, the stakes immediately raise again. Even though they didn't feel like they could get any higher. So I'm definitely going to give this one 2 thumbs up. Really, really nice. After that, we have Boruto 25, Resonance. So Kawaki can just disconnect his growth claw thing, and he can throw claws? Doesn't matter much, though, as villain of the week Garo uses the most powerful weapon known to man. Point-blank gunshots. Which don't really seem to do much to Kawaki at all. We then can see that Kawaki and Boruto's karma symbols expand as Kawaki vaporizes Garo's arm. Also, their arms whine, which is a little weird. And apparently it's just a raw power abuse. Like, it looked at first like maybe only the karma arm was the one getting to do, like, cool stuff. But it seems like it might just be a raw power boost. Because the next thing he does is, like, run Garo through with his other arm that has the weird growth claw thing. And then, like, he just vaporizes Garo and the ground, but not himself, his clothes, or Garo's lower half, in a blast that really seems like it probably should have. Like, I know this sounds like I'm just being nitpicky, but the blast is like a big round blast, and it destroys the ground behind Kawaki. And yeah, sure, it's not going to destroy his clothes because he's like Kawaki. He's the guy who has the karma symbol. But it destroys the ground behind Kawaki, but doesn't destroy Garo's lower half? Like, is there a reason for that? Is, like, Garo's lower half protected somehow? But if so, why wouldn't his upper half also be protected? If it was directional energy that is sent out and, destroys just what it was supposed to, then it wouldn't have been a threat to the Konoha group. But it was a threat to the Konoha group, and Boruto had to absorb it with his karma mark. So it's like, is it an all-encompassing circumferential blast, or is it just a cone that also destroyed the ground underneath Kawaki and behind him, but not in the specific direction diagonally below him? Again, I know I'm just being nitpicky here, but it really, like, this small detail really bothered me for the rest of this chapter, and I think put me in a bad mood for what comes after that. Anyway, Boruto blocks it with his karma because Konohamaru can't do anything ever. Man, Konohamaru. He could have, like, Rasengan the blast or something. I don't know, just anything where he was doing something. Then Kawaki overheats, and from a very long distance away, Katasuke is able to look at him and go, he overheated! Even though Katasuke, can't see him, and can't, like, I mean, he can see him, but he can't disassemble him with his eyes. So it's like, how do you know that, Katasuke? Then we have this series of moments where the chapter just kind of throws itself away from me. Because we get into this moment where Delta's like, well, Garo messed up, but he talked too much, and the Konoha ninjas are still there, so I better go kill him. And Kashin Koji says, no, there is much we could learn. That, like, talking about Boruto, that one also has an understanding of the karma symbol, and the two of them together synergized in some way. Like, there's a lot we can learn from them. And that's fine. Like, that's a reason to let everybody live. Does anybody remember when Kashin Koji literally killed Ao, someone he declared to be a close friend, because Ao was talking too much to Boruto about information that Boruto didn't need to know? But Garo just told all that information, and Kashin Koji is fully willing to let them live after he killed his close friend for giving them information? Maybe Kashin Koji's a good guy. Maybe all of this is a setup, and Kashin Koji's a good guy, and literally everything he's done is to help Konoha. But if that is not the answer at the end of this, I will never be satisfied with the twist of him killing Ao, just to then change his mind on killing Boruto because he saw the karma mark. Because that very easily could have been Ao, died of his own wounds and didn't... It makes me so mad. Then you get into this moment where Katasuke knows that Kawaki is a robot just by looking at him. Like, he's not touching him. He's not running scans on him. He's looking at him and going, his whole body is basically a scientific ninja tool. And okay, so yeah, Katasuke has those glasses that let him look at stuff and decipher things and, scan data, right? But, show me a scene of him scanning data. Show me a panel of him doing something. Show me a panel of him touching Kawaki. Because all it looks like is he's just sitting there going, whoa! This guy's the guy who made him is as good as me! I can't tell you how he works, but the guy who made him's as good as me! This guy's a robot! Did you guys know this guy's a robot? Could you tell by the way his arm whined when he fired a massive laser? And it's okay, Katasuke, alright. I would appreciate something. Pull out some kind of tool. Take your glasses off and put them back on again. Put your hand on him. Do something that lets me believe you're actually scanning him. Because all I see instead is you just looking at him. And then the dumbest moment of this chapter that just threw everything away for me. Mitsuki just drops, yeah, I'm a clone of Orochimaru. And Boruto and Sarada are just what? It's how do you look at Mitsuki and see his powers, see what he can do, and see his eyes, and I assume hear his voice, and see that he just showed up one day, and not realize that this was all Orochimaru? And then Konohamaru's just we kept it from you because it wasn't safe for everyone to know. Konohamaru, for all I know, you just found out too, and you're making up that excuse. Oh man, it just seems like such a weird moment for him to bring it up. Almost as if they're well, we want to be able to reference this later, and we need an official moment where Boruto and Sarada are aware of it, so we better talk about it. And it just immediately pulled me out of the chapter and made me go, oh man, what is going on here? Aren't we in a life or death situation? Doesn't somebody here realize that, well, maybe the guys who, just tried to kill this guy are still around. Maybe there's another one and it wasn't just Garo. They also have those mechanical ninja dolls, so maybe we shouldn't stick around here for too long. But instead they're just sitting here talking about Mitsuki's, origins, and it's oh boy, but it's fine, because they're going to take Kawaki back to Naruto. Sure, let's take this very dangerous individual back to the village instead of to an Anbu Black Ops location somewhere. Alright, I guess that makes sense. After that we never learned 70, sometimes a mysterious palpitation, derives from X. This is a weird chapter, by the way. Yuiga and Ogata wind up studying in the biology lab, and Yuiga hears a rumor about the skeleton moving around. He knows Ogata is afraid of stuff like that, so he tries to stop her from looking at it, and winds up grabbing her face. He winds up texting Sekijo because he thinks the skeleton might be moving, but gets back help repeatedly in all caps. His phone then falls into Ogata's cleavage, and he grabs it without thinking, including the boing sound effect. This leads to her looking away in embarrassment, seeing the skeleton that is definitely closer, which chomps its teeth at them. Yuiga then covers her eyes and tells her they saw nothing, which seems like a bad idea if you see a skeleton chomping its teeth at you. She begins yet again to realize her feelings, and that maybe this beating of her heart is not because she thought she saw a ghost, but because Yuiga is holding his hands over her eyes and holding her close. When Sekijo walks in and reveals that it was an electronic skeleton all along, but there's no batteries inside? Okay, so here's my thing with this chapter. First off, I'm not a big fan, and I've said this before, of boob jokes. They're just not funny to me. I don't know why. It's a problem with Furuhashi, where we always have to joke about how flat she is, and it's a problem with Ogata, where we always have to joke about how big she is. It's not funny to me. So any chapter where that is a thing that gets brought up in the chapter, it automatically just makes me go, we could have done without this joke. And I understand the need for it, because some people do find it funny, and because it leads to other jokes later on. But this chapter is really weird. The idea of the skeleton moving and stuff, that's kind of funny. There were some moments where Yuiga was freaking out and trying to hide that he was freaking out from Ogata, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. But Yuiga also, he's a lot more handsy this chapter than he normally is. And I don't know how I feel about that. He's just grabbing Ogata over and over, and she's not pushing him away from it either. Which maybe that's the point of it, is to show that they're very comfortable around each other and with touching each other. But it just felt a little weird there. And then, the idea of the skeleton is gnashing its teeth at you, so you cover her eyes and close your eyes and act like it didn't happen. By this point, you've seen that it's moved, you've seen that it's looking at you, and now it's actively, threatening you. At this point, maybe pretending it doesn't exist is a bad idea. Also, electronic skeleton, and when she says that, it waves? First off, where can I get one of these? Second off, if you were going to have it be an electronic skeleton, just so you could give the punchline of there's no batteries, it's actually a ghost, then why not just, I don't know, I guess just why not have it, why have that distinction at all? Because you could have just had Sekijo come in and be like, no, it wasn't moving, you two were just overreacting. And then, the thing of, oh yeah, my phone's been messed up ever since we made it electronic. Why? Is the ghost haunting her phone and the skeleton? This was just a really weird chapter for me. I didn't like it at all, really. The only, really funny scenes to me were the scenes where Yuiga was at first freaking out about the skeleton, and then after that, it was just man, I don't like this. So yeah. This one, unfortunately for me, is 2 thumbs down. It's very rare that I give that rating for a We Never Learn chapter, but this chapter just didn't really do it for me. There were some good moments, and the two of them definitely seemed like they got closer, but man, coming off how good the last couple chapters are, this one just feels really strange. And I'm sure for some people out there, this was a great chapter, but for me, it just did not hit any of the points that I was hoping it would. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the skeleton comes back later and it's super cool. Maybe it's I don't know, maybe it winds up becoming Yuiga's best friend and they go on adventures somewhere. Maybe Skeleton's the one that pulled him up last week. Maybe Skeleton-chan's the one that picked him up off the ground when the fireworks went off. Maybe Yuiga's gonna marry the skeleton. I don't know. I'm just saying the skeleton felt a little weird to just show up like that. So, I don't know. We'll move on. After that, we have Dr. Stone 65, Call from the Dead. Speaking of skeletons. Senku sets the plan into action, fully trusting Taiyo, who responds with the same. I appreciate that you put in, some other characters being like, oh, they still trust each other after all this time. You didn't have to tell me that, though. I could tell from the way they were talking to each other. But I respect that you did it, because you did it for people that couldn't figure that out, I guess. Felt really obvious to me, though. Taiyo tells them they found the phone, which makes everybody worry. Because Gin was supposed to tell him about the phone. What do you mean you found the phone? And Gin is in fact in trouble from Ukyo. Magma's plan is to give his best All Might impression and use Chrome as a shield, and then smash Ukyo. Chrome instead sacrifices the extra battery, because he doesn't really feel like dying if he can help it. Start a fire, and then Chrome and Magma both run out, yelling and stepping on a bunch of branches. It's a good plan to help Gin get away, because they need Gin to get away. But Ukyo still manages to launch an arrow. We don't see if that arrow hits somebody or if it misses. We don't see who it would have hit either. It also means that most likely Magma and Chrome are captured. But, hey, we'll see. We get to see that Gin does make it back, but he definitely looks ragged. He's definitely been running. And the plan is for Gin to, use his ability to disguise his voice to pretend to be a wonderful singer and win them back over using the record. Taiyo sets his sights onto their shadow, the one that Tsukasa has set to guard them, so that they can pull her over to their side. If they can get their shadow on their side, then they'll have free reign to be able to recruit as many more as they can. It's a pretty solid plan, so we'll see how it goes. Really worried about where that arrow wound up, though. Where Gin might be hiding that he took an arrow in the back. Regardless, this was a really fun chapter. Gonna give it a thumbs up for sure. I really enjoyed Magma wanting to All Might it up, so, we'll see how it goes. Following that, we have Alice and Taiyo 2, Break the Glass. Taiyo was up all night working on his music. Alice then uses the PA system to call Taiyo to club because she doesn't know what class he's in, and uses literal smoke bombs, which is pretty good. Taiyo yawns, and when Alice finds out why, she can't contain herself. She wants to hear this music he's been working on. She formally asks him to make music with her, and when he tries to back out, she climbs on top of him and tries to hypnotize him. Then she escapes out of a window as the student council comes after her. They wind up at a local event, and a big shot hits on her, but she shoots him down. Then he goes after Taiyo in revenge, and she asks him to take her somewhere quieter. She then gets him to ditch his set and steals it. Taiyo's nervous, of course, but Alice tells him if he fails, she'll be in the dirt with him. This was a fun chapter. I really liked it. I thought that Alice, still being Alice and still trying to win him over and still trying to get him to become a part of the club officially, was really cool. I thought that the hilarity of literal smoke bombs being a word, like a phrase used on a panel, and then Alice climbing out of a window was pretty good, as Taiyo is like, what kind of school is this? I also thought it was really cool that Alice stood up for Taiyo in a way that wasn't just like, don't talk to him that way, but was like really clever. And then took the set so that she can prove it to everybody. And, we'll see how it goes with Taiyo. I think the moment where he says, but you liked my music, when she asks, well, why did you come play with me then? Is a really powerful moment for him as he admits that there is somebody that appreciates his music, which means that others might as well. So this was still really fun. I liked it a lot. Looking forward to more. Sad that the Jumpstart run will be done soon. It won't be a weekly jump anymore, but still be looking forward to it as the updates go up. After that, we have Black Clover 164. The Good-for-Nothings rise up. Lucky's back, but his body remembers Rufal's magic, and he knows he can get stronger with it as he becomes accustomed to it. The hideout is trashed, though, and we get to see Henry and the rest of my favorite characters except for Ghost, who's been taken over by an elf. You get this really good moment where Gordon and Gray and Henry are all trying to tell what happened. And Gordon is just, and Gray is, and then Henry's going, as you had. It's just this really good moment that is immediately, I legit choked on my laughter from laughing too hard as Magna tries to figure out how Asta understood what they were saying. Magna is just like, look, I know this isn't the time, this is super serious, but seriously, how did you do that? And it's a really good moment. Gouch, of course, did not kill them, even when he was taken over by an elf, which leads Asta to believe that Gouch is still holding back somewhere in there. And then we see Charmy, who's also there, and is very furious about her garden being destroyed, so she uses her magic to revitalize the group. And as they all catch up and eat together, not only their magic, but also their will strengthens, as the broken parts of the family strategize on not just how to get the rest of their family back, but how to find them. All of this brings Henry back up, who recombines the house into a bull, and they charge for the capital. When I stated 7 or 8 chapters ago that the elf inhabitation thing, the reincarnation spell used on them, was one of the best things that could have ever happened to this manga, I still mean that. It led to this moment that happens here where they have to come together, where the remnants of the Black Bulls are counting off who is here and who isn't, where people are, and how they can get them back as the family is forced to fight together and work together to be able to survive. And it's really, really solid. I love it. I love it so much. This one is definitely getting a 2 thumbs up from me. Following that, we have Seiji Tanaka 3 versus Gennai. Tanaka wants to observe Genda, but Tokioka goes for the throat, asking him to make him a time machine. Genda, of course, has no idea what he's talking about. And we also meet Akari, the school idol. Genda claims that she is his girlfriend, which sparks Tokioka to challenge him. 3 rounds, and if they win 1, they win it all. But Super Slash Hammer Inferno Beta overheats. That was Tokioka's robot. And Tanaka's robot falls over while bowing, because it overbalanced. This leads to Akari being the last one left, and she clearly wants to beat Genda, but views it as something she can't do at her current ability. As Genda, continues to taunt her and say that, he's the champion, and he's won, and there's no way she can beat him, until Tokioka does what he does best, and inspires others to do their best, by telling her not to let others tell her what's possible for her, or what's impossible. She then makes a laser in 2 minutes and melts Genda's robot, which, if you hadn't already picked up on, should be the clue to let you know that she is actually the one who's Gennai. And we get to see that having seized victory, she takes the drill and drills right beside Genda's head and tells him he doesn't get to tell her what's impossible. So, it seems like they've pretty much recruited Gennai. There's going to definitely be moments next chapter where Tokioka is trying to win her over to his side, and eventually she'll probably capitulate. But this was a really fun series, and like I said, just like with Alice and Taiyo, I'm upset that these are going to be leaving Jump because I think they're really good. But I want to see more Seiji Tanaka, so I'm definitely going to keep up with it on my own. But this was really solid. I'm going to give this one a thumbs up. The twist was immediately noticeable, I guess you could say, because Gennai was Genda was just a little bit too obvious. But I thought it was still a fun twist, and I really like Akari's character. She's pretty good. Following that, we have Food Wars 270, The True Culprit. Monarch is calling Megami Megumama. Oh boy. And Arena, of course, had more people on the job of finding the Chef Noirs. Aizen, now the 8th seat. Kuga, now the 3rd seat. Ishiki, the 2nd seat. 9th seat Nene, and 7th seat Takumi have all captured Noir as well. And Takumi's brother has really dropped some weight. And Ishiki's Noir chef that he finds looks a lot like Vanilla from Votones mixed with Banjo Haran from Daitarn 3. Just want to point that out. They all tell of a man, despite, by the way, saying that they weren't going to talk, they all immediately talk. They all tell of a man who told them all about Shokugeki, whose name was Saiba? Now, could this be Azami using his old friend's name, or could this be Jiroichiro trying to have some fun and make Soma improve? Could it be Soma's mother? There's a lot we don't know. And it's not impossible to think this could just be someone else named Saiba, but it would make a lot of sense for this to be Azami, or even Jirichiro just trying to mix things up and make things, more interesting. All told, though, this was pretty good. This is what I kind of wish the last chapter had been, and we had just forced everything up one chapter. Like, I still feel like this arc is a chapter behind because of how long it took to get to the Monarch Shokugeki, which wasn't even a full Shokugeki, really. But it was still pretty solid. So it was also really cool getting to see where everybody else was sitting after the seats were changed up. Aizen's a lot lower than I thought he would be, honestly. And Takumi is lower than I thought he would be. But Takumi is ahead of Aizen, so I'm sure that makes Takumi happy. Kuga is way higher. Like, Kuga's really good, but I didn't expect him to be 3rd seed. So that's really cool, because I like Kuga a lot. But all in all, this is a fun chapter. Definitely going to give it a thumb up. Finally, we have Blue Exorcist 101, SSC0436. Yuri and Shiro are split up, and we see Yuri put into the Exorcist training machine, grinding out studies and working hard every day, on little sleep, to become a good exorcist, like everybody wants her to be. We also see Shiro desperately want to be free, at any expense. He'll kill every demon, and when the order's done with him, he'll kill Mephisto himself. We then get to see Rin travel 4 more years forward, and oh boy, they were cloning demon kings. Which seems like a really bad idea. And Shiro was a clone of Azazel? It just, man, this is such a weird arc. Like, the time travel arc is really strange to me, because, like, there's some really solid scenes in there, and then it just starts jumping. And it's like, hey, you've been waiting for answers for some of these questions for a while. Here you go, here they all are. Man, Father Fujimoto was a clone of Azazel. That puts things in perspective, I suppose. Also, it's no real wonder that things collapsed the way they did. I mean, you got a school with a bunch of exorcists who were supposed to, destroy demons, on top of a research facility where they're cloning demons. Like, I get why you did it. Seems like those two things might not mesh that well together. And, like, Mephisto gets into the idea of, hey, well, yeah, you gotta swear a bunch of oaths, and if you break the oaths, you die. But, like, at some point, wouldn't those exorcists just want to blow that up and die in the process? Like, if they found out about it? Or is everybody immediately brought in and told, like, hey, this is why we're doing it? I don't know, it just immediately made me go, has there never been... And maybe what happens is that one person goes, oh, man, this is a really bad idea. We need to just do this. Here we go. Also, they brought up the promise of if Fujimoto ever makes a deal, or ever gives a demon what it asks for, that he owes Mephisto a favor. Ever caters to a demon, then he owes Mephisto a favor. Which is pretty fun to see brought up here. All told, this was a fun chapter. I'll give it a thumb up. It really shows why the entire Exorcist program is a flawed undertaking from the get-go, because all they're doing is allowing them to make more demons in this process, and that all of it was done so that Mephisto could set up things for his father, of course. But all told, this was a good issue of Jump. I had a lot of fun with it. There were some really weird chapters and some really bad negatives in a couple of them, but then there's some really high points in some others. And we got one Jumpstart cycling out, and a one-shot coming in next week from Kumotite. So, Kumotite, however, you decide you want to pronounce it. I've heard it both ways. I think it's actually Tite Kubo, but, it's fine. But all told, I had fun this week. I've been Trey. This has been The Full Spectrum. We'll be back next week with more Weekly Shonen Jump. And until next week, remember to always enjoy the full spectrum. Jump! Passed off.